Some jobs are just jobs. You clock in, you clock out. The routine is predictable, the risks are minimal, and the biggest challenge might be a tough deadline or a long meeting. But for some, work means stepping into a world where every day is a gamble, and the stakes are life and death. King crab fishing in the Bering Sea is a different beast entirely. Here, the office is a steel deck slick with ice, the walls are made of freezing salt water, and the ceiling is a sky that can turn violent in seconds. The water can kill you in a minute, and every paycheck is earned with sweat, grit, and risk. There's no safety net, just the relentless sea and the hope you'll make it back. TV shows capture the drama, but they can't show you the true power of the ocean until it's trying to swallow you whole. The cameras might catch the chaos, but they can't capture the bone-deep fear when a wall of water towers over your boat. This isn't just about catching crabs. It's about surviving nature at its most brutal, where every decision can mean the difference between life and death. The people out here aren't daredevils, they're professionals, risking everything to provide for their families. They're fathers, sons, brothers, and friends, bound by a shared determination to do what it takes. Every trip out of harbor carries the real possibility of not coming back, and every goodbye could be the last. The fatality rate for commercial fishermen is among the highest of any job. One mistake, a tangled line, a loose pot, a moment's distraction, can be fatal. The equipment is heavy, the conditions are unforgiving, and the margin for error is razor thin. Out here, even the smallest oversight can have deadly consequences. And then there's the weather. The Bering Sea storms can turn routine into disaster in minutes. Winds howl, waves crash, and visibility drops to nothing. This is the story of one such storm. A crew, a boat, and a fight for survival against forces no human can control. 60-foot waves, teamwork, and sheer will to live. This is what defines these fishermen. When the sea is at its worst, they rely on each other, trusting their lives to the skills and instincts honed over years. There's no Hollywood script here, just the raw, terrifying truth of one of the world's deadliest jobs, where courage is measured in actions, not words. It's about facing the impossible and, against all odds, living to tell the tale. Out here, courage isn't loud, it's quiet, determined, and absolutely necessary. Every survivor carries scars, some visible, some hidden, but all are earned in the battle with the sea. Welcome to the real deadliest catch. This is more than a TV show, it's a way of life, and for those who live it, every day is a test of strength, skill, and heart. Our vessel, the Northern Gale, was a battered but tough 120-foot crabber. Captain Lars led our crew of 6, each of us seasoned, except for me, the greenhorn. The day started with calm seas and a steady rhythm, hauling pots, sorting crabs, and sharing easy banter. Stan, Dave, and Ricky worked the deck like a well-oiled machine, while Marco kept the engine humming. Meals in the cramped galley brought laughter and camaraderie, a shield against the isolation. The sun even broke through, and optimism ran high as we made good time. Captain Lars chatted with nearby boats, the radio crackling with familiar voices. We were just fishermen doing our job, unaware that the Bering Sea was about to remind us who was really in charge. That morning's peace would soon feel like a distant memory. The first warning was subtle. The sea's rhythm turned choppy, the wind sharpened, and a strange tension seemed to settle over the water. It was as if the ocean itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to break the uneasy calm. The horizon blurred into a dark, spreading bruise, clouds thickening and swallowing the last hints of sunlight. The line between sea and sky vanished, replaced by a wall of shadow that crept steadily closer. The air grew colder, biting through our jackets, and the crew's chatter faded as we all sensed the shift. Even the most seasoned among us fell silent, eyes scanning the sky for signs of what was coming. Captain Lars's voice came over the speaker, urgent. "Secure the pots. Weather's turning." His tone left no room for doubt. This was no ordinary squall. Instantly we moved to lash down gear. Anything loose could become deadly. Ropes snapped tight, boots thudded on the deck, and every hand worked with practiced speed, adrenaline sharpening our focus. The swells grew, the sky darkened, and the wind howled, making every step a struggle. Salt spray stung our faces, and the boat pitched violently, testing our balance and resolve. The world dimmed to a gloomy twilight, even though it was only afternoon. Shadows stretched across the deck, and the familiar landscape of sea and sky became unrecognizable. Inside the wheelhouse, tension was thick. Lars gripped the wheel, eyes locked on the storm, jaw clenched as he calculated our next move. Every decision now carried weight. The forecast had missed the mark. This was worse than anyone expected. The radar screen flickered with angry red patches, and the crew exchanged worried glances. Lars radioed the Coast Guard, reporting our position and the worsening conditions. Static crackled through the speaker, but his voice was steady, determined to keep us safe. The time, for routine, was over. Every man braced himself, abandoning the day's plans as survival became our only focus. We were in the teeth of the storm, and it was just beginning. The ocean roared around us, and as the first monstrous wave crashed over the bow, we knew survival mode had begun. The first big wave changed everything. The northern gale climbed a wall of water, then crashed down with bone-jarring force. Freezing water swept the deck, knocking me off my feet and stealing my breath. The storm's roar was deafening, waves pounding, wind screaming, metal groaning. Visibility vanished. All we saw were endless waves, each a new threat. The fight for survival had truly begun. In a storm like this, the captain leads the dance with death. Lars kept our bow into the waves, one wrong angle, and we'd roll. On deck we worked by instinct and hand signals, checking lashings and watching for danger. Stan signaled from the bow, warning Lars of incoming monsters. Ice built up, making the boat unstable. We crawled out to knock it off, risking everything. Teamwork was our only lifeline. Every man's life depended on the others. Fear was there, but we pushed it down and did our jobs. We trusted each other and our captain, bound by a silent pact to survive. 6 men, one purpose: keep the northern gale afloat until dawn. Hours into the storm, exhaustion set in, but we found a rhythm, until the rogue wave hit. The wind howled like a living thing, and every muscle in our bodies ached from fighting the relentless sea. We thought we'd seen the worst, but nothing could have prepared us for what came next. It was a freak, towering far above the rest, blotting out the sky. For a moment time seemed to freeze as we stared up at this wall of water, impossibly huge, as if the ocean itself had risen up to swallow us whole. There was no time to react, just primal terror as it crashed over us. The roar was deafening, drowning out our shouts and the groan of the ship. We were powerless, just along for the ride. The northern gale was driven under, the hull screaming, windows shattering, water flooding in. Every inch of the boat shuddered as the force of the wave tried to tear it apart. For seconds, we were a submarine, not a boat. Lights out, engine dead. The vessel stopped fighting. The darkness was absolute, broken only by the cold rush of seawater pouring in. On deck, we clung to anything as tons of water tried to rip us away. The deck was a chaos of bodies and gear, everyone fighting just to stay aboard. The boat tilted, past the point of no return. It felt like gravity itself had shifted, pulling us toward the churning sea. This is how you sink, I thought, a strange resignation settling in. In that instant, fear gave way to a numb acceptance, as if we were already ghosts. We had fought hard, but the sea was stronger. The ocean's power was absolute, and we were at its mercy. The feeling wasn't panic, but a cold, terrifying acceptance. We looked at each other, silent, knowing words were useless against the storm. The northern gale groaned, rolled, and seemed ready to disappear. We were going down. The world shrank to the battered deck and the endless raging water. And then, somehow, we held on. Against all odds, the boat righted itself, battered but afloat, and we realized we'd survived the impossible. The northern gale lay crippled, half-submerged, alarms blaring, water pouring in. Captain Lars, bleeding but focused, fought to start the auxiliary generator. Marco dove into the flooded engine room, risking his life for power. On deck, we had to jettison crab pots to right the boat. Thousands of dollars lost, but our lives at stake. The deck was a tilted, icy slope. Every move was a gamble. We cut ropes, shoved pots overboard, and felt the boat slowly shift. Below, Marco's battle raged. Then, a miracle! The generator coughed to life. Lights flickered on, pumps roared, and water began to drain. The northern gale started to right herself, shaking off the sea's grip. We weren't safe yet, but we were no longer sinking. Against all odds, we'd bought ourselves a second chance. The fight wasn't over, but hope returned. We braced for whatever came next. Leveling the boat was just the start. The main engine was dead, but Marco's repairs gave us limited power and steering. Captain Lars sent a mayday. The Coast Guard's voice was a lifeline, but rescue was impossible in the storm. We huddled in the wrecked wheelhouse, battered and freezing, taking turns on watch. Coffee was passed around in silence, a gesture of solidarity. Marco finally got a hydraulic pump running, letting us face the waves again. It was a small victory, but it meant we could fight back, even a little. We clung to hope, waiting for dawn. Dawn broke slowly, the storm easing into rolling swells. The northern gale was battered, twisted metal, broken gear, half our pots gone, but still afloat. We stood on deck, silent, relief washing over us. We had survived the night. The Coast Guard chopper appeared, a beautiful sight against the gray sky. Rescue was at hand, but the ordeal had changed us. We were bruised, exhausted, but alive. Survival wasn't just about a strong boat or a skilled captain, it was about refusing to give up. We'd fought for every inch, trusted each other, and endured. Returning to port, the northern gale limped in, a wounded warrior. The sea had taught us humility and respect. You don't conquer the ocean, you survive it, if it lets you. That night left scars, but also forged an unbreakable bond. In the face of nature's fury, our greatest strength was each other.